Okay, Colin. So again, if you recall from last week, we're going to go through today and hear from the different programs. We want to get a brief overview, 5 minutes, um, of the programs that we have available through our continuum. Our permanent housing options, like our rapid rehousing and PSH. So we want to start in just a moment and trying to go in this order with EPD going first, with UMD going, and EPD. I understand yours is different. You could just explain it. Then did someone say something? Okay. UPD next. Is Gemini on? If Gemini joins the LGBTQ Center. After that, families moving forward, and finally, housing for new hope. And those with multiple programs, when you're up, you can do your multiple programs rather than waiting. It's not necessarily PSH or rapid housing and come back and do the other. But if you would, when you're up, if you would give overview or however many are going to be doing it, you could do it for your full menu of programs. Okay, Nicole, let you go first with what is offered at entry point. Nicole,
Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
there you go.
I was on the phone.
No problem. Do you want to come back to you?
No, I can explain it now if you want me to.
Sure, please.
Okay, so this is Nicole Lamb. I am the program director of coordinated entry, which is we are the front door of Durham County. So if anyone that's homeless or unsheltered or at risk of being homeless and in Durham County, they give us a call. And
Nicole,
we have about, go
I'm,
ahead.
I'm sorry. Melissa, can you record this part? Because I want to make sure that that we have this part before we go into anything about client specific. This is more so about programs. So could you record that?
It's being recorded. You should see the little recording icon on top.
Okay. Okay. See it now. Okay. Thank you. I apologize, Nicole, if you could do that one more time.
Okay, I will start all over. Okay, this is Nicole Lamb. I think Levette's on too. Levette Williams. We are the program directors for coordinated entry of Durham County. DSS, Department of Social Services, and VOA has partnered together, and we've been doing coordinated entry program for 4 years. So we are the front door of Durham County. And so anyone that's unsheltered or at risk of being homeless in 14 days gives us a call. We do have a Zoom line because when COVID hit, we were seeing people in person, but now we have a Zoom line and we have a location at DSS building, which we're seeing clients also there. There is still 2 DSS lobby phones that if they don't have a phone, they can call us or they can come to our office when we're open from 8:30 until 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. And then what we do is we do an assessment with the client, and we refer to, if they're unsheltered, we refer to Housing for New Hope Street Outreach Team. We do referrals to the shelter, to Urban Ministries and Family Moving Forward. We also tell the clients about our diversion programs. So we have 2 different diversion programs, which one is our travel diversion. So if someone is unsheltered or at risk but they have family that's outside of the county, could be in North Carolina or even outside of North Carolina, and we have talked to the family and they can stay there so they're not unsheltered or are homeless, we can provide travel transportation to get them there. Which would be like bus, train, or a plane ticket, or even gas cards if they have a car to get there. And then the other diversion is we help with move-in assistance. So how that works is we first try to refer to DSS Opening Doors program if they don't have any funding or not accepted for that program, then we can definitely help with the move-in assistance. And that is usually security deposit and some of the first month's rent. We do ask clients to help with, about 10 to 20% of the whole move-in if they can. It's case by case. And we just get the documents from the landlords and the client. I think I said everything correctly. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, Jeffrey, I think I said everything. If I'm missing anything, let me know.
Okay.
I
Thank you.
apologize. I apologize, Ms. Nicole. So if a family comes to entry point unsheltered and you complete an assessment, how do you make the distinguish or decision to send them to urban ministries for a family room as opposed to sending them to families moving forward?
No, when we put them on the priority list for shelter, we do tell them we have 2 family shelters in Durham, and we do put UMD and our family moving forward. Now there is some clients that have been specific where they said they only want to go to family moving forward, or they only want to go to urban ministry family shelter. So we do put that in our note on our non-confidential note in HMIS. So when we are going through the list and calling families, we check that. And then also if there's families that are over 4-member households, they usually go to family moving forward because UMD have smaller rooms and they can't have bigger families.
Okay, I see that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey Nicole, this is Chesley. I have a question.
Yes.
So for the move-in assistance, say a client comes to us, because I've had a couple clients that'll come from Entry Point to the shelter and say, hey, Entry Point said they would help me with my first month's rent deposit, like the diversion plan that y'all tell them about. And so they're like, if I get help, I want to go back there to get assistance because they were already told that. Is that something that, because I know before we were told to go through another agency before we come to you. So how would that work?
Well, what we do tell the clients is that when they do get referred to shelter and they're in shelter, that when they get that case, like you as the case manager at UMD, that they would express that, they have an approval letter or whatever. But that would not go to us because we exit them out of our project when we refer them over to the shelter and they do an intake over there. As with our funds from the city, we definitely, can work with the clients, but when they're exit out of our shelter, out of our program, they're in your shelter, then we have to look at other avenues for move-in assistance.
Okay, got you. So it's only when they're connected to Entry Point and they haven't been referred to any other, accepted or living in another shelter. It's only when they're in the program. Once they get exited out, that's it.
Yes.
Got you. Okay, thank you.
Let me add something here as well, and this is something that we've all run into. When Nicole or staff or Lavette or anyone gives them this information, a lot of times when you're in crisis, what you hear is, "You will pay my rent," and then when you go to the next place, that is the part that you repeat. So that's why it's imperative that when we're learning today, so that if a client says that you Chesley or anyone else on the phone will be able to say, that's not quite how it works. Let me explain it to you. Yes, they could help while you were unsheltered, but now that you're sheltered, there are other avenues, but that would not be one of them. That closes it at that point. They most likely already been told that already, but you hear what you need to hear oftentimes when you're in crisis. So that's why it's important that we all listen and that and Chesley, that was a good question, because now you'll have a response when someone says that. When someone comes in and says, well, they told me that they'd pay for it, and that's what I want. You'll have the knowledge to be able to tell them that's not how this works. Let me explain to you how it does. Because people arrive at, each one of you have expressed to me that someone has arrived to you from somewhere else and we're told that your program would do something that it doesn't do. And we want to make sure that that at least from our side, that is not what is happening, that they may have heard what they wanted to hear, but now you'll know exactly what to tell them when they tell you that. Well, they said you're going to do this. Well, I'm not quite sure that you understood them properly, but let's just make sure that you have an understanding now. So it's not to throw shade at whoever, wherever they came from. It's at this point, I wouldn't even address what was said before. I would just say, well, let's just make this clear. I want to make sure that you have an understanding and give them the information from that point forward. Anything that was said or that was perceived to have been said, we want to knock that down and go ahead and give them a clear picture of what your program is able to do and what other options are available, closing the door on anything they may have heard prior or thought they heard prior. And Courtney, I see your hand is up.
Thank you.
Yes. So my question is, I believe you said with your diversions, you help with move-in assistance, but what if someone's they don't need move-in assistance, they just need financial assistance to make rent for this
Yeah,
month?
we don't do rental assistance.
Okay.
That's not in our contract.
All right, thank you.
There are other avenues to get rental assistance, but it doesn't exist in our system like that. Okay. Any more questions for Nicole? Okay, let's move on to UMD. Following UMD will be the LGBTQ Center.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Christine. I'm the CoC Fresh Start Case Manager. So people are referred to me through the by name list meeting. When they come to me, they should be document ready, and they should have contact information so that I can readily get in touch with them. Then I complete an assessment. We start on the housing search. They search for housing. I search for housing. I connect them with our workforce development department that works doing job applications, doing resumes, any of their job related needs. They also refer like to Step Up and CoC Rehab. Once they're housed, then we pay their rent. They pay their utilities. And they can stay in the program up to 2 years, but it is, we tried to get them ready to be dismissed at about 6 to 8 months, if possible.
Okay, and to piggyback off of Christine, that is our rapid reality CoC program. But as far as Urban Ministries is concerned, the entry point is entry point, if you will. We are a 30-day shelter. We offer food, clothing, and shelter to those in need. Any and everyone is welcome, providing that they are medically fit. And that's, in mental health challenges or physical handicap. We take a look at that and we may have to turn them away for that reason. While they're here, we try to connect them with multiple services such as mental health services, medical assistance by way of Lincoln Health Center. We have a substance use education program. We also have a women's empowerment group that we hold in the evenings on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We connect them with that during that 30-day period. It's a short stay, but we try our best to do as much as we can. Case management. We'll also assist them with housing opportunities by way of rapid rehousing, housing for New Hope, or whatever we can, based off of the criteria that is required. Upon entry into UMD, they are assigned a bed, a case manager, and given a client handbook. We go over the rules and regulations with them, making sure that they understand specific behaviors that may result in getting them exited. As Christine spoke about, we have an employment readiness program that they connect with for possible employment and or job readiness for the most part.
Yeah. Okay. Now, you indicated you're a 30-day shelter, but
Yes.
there are exceptions. So can you discuss those?
Well, the exception from the 30-day stay would be if a client has a concrete housing program, and that happens quite a bit, meaning that if a client is coming up on their exit date, and they are connected to one of the housing partners that's guaranteeing them to be housed, and it may take 2 weeks or so before they're housed or what have you, they are able to stay because we have in writing specified, and we can put in HMIS the reason why they are staying past their 30 days for the most part.
Okay, so if I have a landlord that's willing to rent to me, I've been accepted to a rapid housing program, say at Phoenix moving forward, but I have a landlord, a prospective landlord. If I present that information, if I have met my appointments, if I have done what you have asked me to do as far as what you've written out as my housing plan, then I have the opportunity to be extended if I am meeting my goals.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you. Okay. One more question, and then Tasha has a question as well. Now, I heard you say that people who they have to be medically fit. If they're not medically fit, what happens at that point?
Well, we would actually contact Nicole. We would deny them before we try to get. Well, a lot of times we don't know until they actually arrive here, and when they do, that's something that I think I'm not sure if we connect them with any other services. Many times we have had to contact medical facilities and forward them there because that's just how bad they are sometimes. Other than that, we deny them. Now, what we do after denial, I'm not quite sure. If we try to connect them to some other organization that's going to assist them more better than we can, I'm not really sure about that. That's something that Miss Nicole Shona would actually, and sometimes Lincoln would get involved in that part of it.
Okay. So over the next week or so, if we could find out exactly so that everyone will be aware of what happens if that occurs.
And that would be great for us to actually connect them to, the appropriate facility when we can't accept them,
That's
So,
excellent.
and we may very well do, but I'm not really sure about that. So I'll find that out.
Okay. Sounds good. And Tasha, your hand is up.
Thank you. I just have some questions for Christine. I think I know the answers, but I just want to make sure I am aware. So for the Fresh Start program, that's a program for singles, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Are there other eligibility requirements, disability, or anything of that nature?
Disabling condition and chronically homeless, a year of homelessness or a year and within 3 years.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Did everyone get that? And that's your prioritization group, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, with every rapid rehousing program, with very, very few exceptions, if you don't have someone in your prioritization group, you can accept outside of that group. But there's a prioritization group that you go to first. But if you don't get someone that falls into that prioritization, you are to accept people outside of that. But your first prioritization is the group that you have specifically signed up for.
And so Jeffrey, and with that being said, does that mean the priority is that they're single and they meet the other criteria, chronicity and so on and so forth? Does that mean that CoC, UMD CoC rapid rehousing could cross over to have family to serve families as opposed to just focusing on singles?
Colin come in there, because that's before my time. Colin, are you available now? Not sure about the family and single.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff.
Sure.
No, the priority is whatever you wrote in your application to HUD. So that's I think your priority, if I remember correctly, is single chronically homeless adults.
Yes.
If we don't have single chronically homeless adults, you would take the next prioritization would be chronically homeless families.
There you go.
You would stick with your chronic prioritization to go to the next group. If there were no single chronic adult singles or no chronic single families, you would then follow your prioritization to the next level, which would be single adults needing rapid rehousing who do not meet chronic criteria because we essentially don't have anybody on the list, but we're not going to leave a spot vacant when they're just holding it. If there are no non-chronically homeless single adults, then you would move to your fourth priority, which would be non-chronic families. So
Mm,
you would have to be eligible. You would work your way through this depending on where you find a match.
I see,
Does that make sense?
it does.
And we've had to do that before. We've taken some non-chronic adults because we didn't have any on the list at the time, and we moved a few, and I sent an email explaining that. We haven't gotten to the point where we've run out of singles. So
Mhm.
the likelihood we'd run out of singles being referred to rapid rehousing is probably pretty slim.
Right.
Indeed.
Mhm.
But Families Moving Forward has a similar thing with their domestic violence project. It's a prioritization for families fleeing DV, then singles fleeing DV, then working our way through it.
Okay, got it.
Well,
Thank you.
good. This is very, very good information. Very good information.
Mhm.
Okay. And you indicated that your goal is to try and get them stable and moved out within 6 to 8. You can go longer, but 6 to 8 is the goal, correct?
Yeah.
And that's with progressive engagement, like starting covering the first month's rent, but then trying to scale down until they're able to take it over themselves, hopefully in 6 to 8.
But we actually can go up to 2 years, but we try not to do that.
Right.
No. I mean scaling. I know, but the first month you're paying everything the first month, but your goal is correct to begin to pay less and less until they're able to take it over.
We don't do the scale, we don't have the scale down system with CoC. We actually just work with them until they're able to actually receive it. They're able to Kristen, go ahead on, because that's your baby. I'll let you talk.
Right. So I have been in this position of less than a year. So that is the goal, is to scale back, but it has not been historically that way.
Mhm.
Okay. That's something we'll work on through the course of the year is progressive engagement. It'll save a little money. It'll also it's a cushion to a move in,
Yes.
Mhm.
a cushion to a end of a subsidy. Because when you're spending your money on, and this is just example, you're spending your money on Xboxes and on eating out, and then next month you have to suddenly pay all of your rent. It's a sticker shock.
Mhm.
So we'll be working through the course of the year to begin to work with you guys on doing some TA with everybody to kind of show how that works.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay,
And
sounds
we
great.
have a monthly
Okay.
conversation. I have monthly conversations with people so that they understand the process.
Right. I understand. That's great.
Mhm.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Next we have the LGBTQ Center.
Hey everyone, this is Gemini with the LGBTQ Center of Durham, where we have Project FAM, which hosts our housing program here, where we prioritize, of course, folks of the LGBTQ experience, and our priority is helping folks currently escaping DV, SV living situations. Um, we do have a pretty small team here of myself and one other case manager. Actually, I'm the director, and we have one housing case manager on our team. Um, Aside from housing, we also help folks with employment support, um, therapy, um, DV and SV support. We also have a trans non-gender conforming closet that is typically open by appointment only, where we help folks with free toiletry items and clothing items. We also have support groups here at the center. Um, there's a variety for youth and also for dedicated groups like POC trans folks and things of that nature. I'm not sure if I'm missing any information that I'm supposed to be sharing, but if anyone has any questions, you can feel free to ask.
Yes, I do, because we occasionally have we have clients who come to us from the LGBTQ community. So I'm wondering, so how long is the stay and how do you process them in? Like if they were to come to us and they weren't too comfortable here, we know that there is the LGBTQ center. What would we do?
Well, okay, so first let me preference by saying that we are not a shelter. We do not provide emergency housing. We don't have
Okay,
our own beds or anything like that. So
oh,
we're not able to house people.
gotcha.
Yeah. Our intake process looks like, going through a housing assessment, trying to kind of assess what's led them to needing help, what help they need to get out of that situation. Um, we help by trying to, find apartments that they are living situations. Most of the time, because we typically deal with single individuals,
Okay,
we usually will help folks navigate towards like a shared living situation. Mostly because once they stop receiving services, that's more likely what most of our folks are able to afford, given that cost of living is so high here in Durham. And so we usually will uh, recommend to folks even in a shared living situation because of that. But we don't have our own housing, and we don't. We actually are going to be implementing a very limited kind of rent relief or emergency housing fund. So, like, we may be able to help a few people a month with a hotel stay for the month with some other funding, not HUD funds, of course. So, some once we get that implemented, I'll be able to share that with y'all and let you know, like, hey, this is an additional resource that we have. We anticipate only being able to help 3 to 4 people a month with that funding, though.
mhm.
Yeah,
I
so a
have
lot
a,
of times our needs are like for emergency housing, which is not something we're able to do.
I
Oh,
have a question. When you all help them, if you help them and they find an apartment, do you help with the move-in cost or you refer out for those type of funds?
Yes, we do use HUD funds to cover their deposit and first month's rent, if they need help with that.
Okay.
and one last question, Gemini. So if a client is of the LGBT community is assigned a bed here at Urban Ministries, um, can they access services from you guys while staying here? Because you mentioned therapy and things of that
Yes,
nature that they can.
yes, as long as we have the capacity. Right now, our therapy services we just hit capacity yesterday with
Oh,
that. So the best thing to do is just to email me at
oh,
Gemini at LGBTQcenterofDurham.org, or you can email case management at LGBTQcenterofDurham.org. Also on our website, under our programs, we have a link to our online referral form for services. We definitely let folks know on that form that we don't provide emergency housing, which is a big ask of the community, and that we also don't actually give every single support, that we may be connecting them with other agencies that do, but we at least like to kind of be a hub for information for them. So any of your clients are more than welcome to fill out a referral form, and we can assess what our capacities are for those requests and go from there.
I think that's awesome. If you would put that in the chat, I would really appreciate it. I thank you.
Okay, I'll do that right now.
Yeah,
Mhm.
if you can get both those email addresses, including yours. And this is why this is what we're doing is important. If someone comes to UMD and they identify as a population that will be serviced by LGBTQ Center, so they're staying there, you have them in emergency shelter. Let's say they qualify for both programs. Say they qualify for your program and for Gemini's program. You have options at that point that if they're more comfortable
Yes.
being serviced by the LGBTQ Center, then you would put in a referral, but you would also make that known when we do the case conferencing. Let the center know that this person has indicated this. Also, if during the therapy services, as long as there's not a cross of the same types of service, you can get multiple services as long as you're not offering the same thing. So you can't double bill. But with these things that you're offering, with the therapy and with the other things that are not offered at UMD, those two things you can do. So ideally, what we will be looking at is when someone identifies as a priority for another person's or another agency's program, then we would do cross referrals directly to those other programs, so that we're going to offer the best opportunity for a household to be able to stabilize, because they'll have supports that from an agency that's geared to do what they need, is geared for them as being a priority. You're going to have some families or individuals who just come through the system and can go anywhere. But the reason we're discussing prioritizations today is so that we offer a household the best opportunity and the best supportive services that we're able to offer. It'll also help us to see what we're lacking and what things we need to pursue to get into the system that we don't currently have. So this is extremely good dialogue. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate that. Are there any additional questions for Jim and I regarding the rapid rehousing?
I have a question. Gemini, do y'all put in like rapid rehousing referrals there? Do y'all help with that or no?
No, we will typically either accept them in or give them information for other agencies they can reach out to.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question. Chelsea, we
Oh,
say
I
again?
just wanted to make sure because you said as long as they're not doing the same thing we're doing, like, because sometimes we don't know like what agencies have already put in rapid rehousing applications for our clients, because there's
Mhm.
it's hard to tell sometimes. So I was making sure that they
Okay.
don't do that over there.
Okay, great. That sounds good. Now, we're working on some things behind the scenes to try and make sure that we're all able to see. And remember, if whatever you're doing, if there's a referral made, put it on the client tab so that in the public place where everyone can see it. Say if they're at UMD and you're going to do a housing referral, put that on the client tab in the notes section, showing that you're making a referral to rapid rehousing. That way, the LGBTQ Center can see it as well, and vice versa. If whoever's doing it, make sure that when someone logs on with the person, they're able to see it right on that main tab.
You're saying in HMIS?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Families moving forward. Sally, will you look at the chat? I sent you a message in chat.
I'll go ahead and get started and share about the emergency shelter. We are the family emergency shelter. Similar to UMD, we try to get families out within 30 days. As you all can imagine, it's nearly impossible. So 30, 60, 90 is our goal. We serve 20 families at a time. Families can be as small as 2-member households, as large as 8 members in a household. We have fairly large rooms. And we provide case management, resource referral, and childcare. And the childcare is for any family with children that needs assistance. So not just FMF families. And we also offer on-site programming. I think that covered the bulk of what we offer here.
Did you say any families that may need assistance with childcare, you offer that service?
Absolutely, yes. We have MOUs with, I think, all homeless service providers.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we had a family here and the family, the head of household was working and needed that childcare, how would we access you guys' services? What would we do? What would we do?
The case manager just needs to reach out to our early childhood specialist. That's Tiffany King, and I can put her information in the chat. Submit a referral and she'll start working with you all we provide temporary first because we want to support families in securing employment. Once they're employed, we work with DSS. A lot of times at the same time, we're working with DSS to get those vouchers in place. We just want them to be employed. That is the goal for the early childhood support.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, thank you.
Is it just one of the parents needs to be employed or both? Or because we are helping a family with 5 children and one of the parents is unable to work because of childcare for their 3-year-old.
If
But
they
one
are
parent is working, sorry.
Okay, if they're having a hard time securing housing because they need more income, that's what this program is for. So if the other parent needs to work, and the only way they can work is to put that child in childcare, absolutely make that referral. We
Okay,
will
well,
need,
actually, this, if you're from family, it's actually a family that we have, I guess, taken over their case from your shelter, but they're still sheltered with you. The last name is Bean.
they're not sheltered with us at this time.
Oh, okay. I thought that they were.
No, they
Okay.
left shelter. Mhm. Yeah, we could still assist them. If you're assisting them, we can still assist them. We just need to set up an MOU agreement.
Okay. So should I just email you, or how do we get that started?
I will put Tiffany's information in the chat. Tiffany is the best person to speak with, and she will connect with whoever makes a referral.
Thank you so much.
Tasha, what are the hours for childcare?
Usually it's first shift, second shift. We have had some third shift, but not for our shelter, of course. It just depends on what the family needs. So
Excellent.
right now, what we offer initially, because most of the referrals are for households without employment, we offer temporary childcare. I believe children as young as 6 months, but please do not let me mislead anyone. Tiffany is the expert here. So we have 3 sites that we're currently working with. She will the very next day, get the household connected to the site. And while that's happening, the family should be working to secure employment, or they are working to enroll in school. It's either school or it's employment. And then after we can provide up to 10 days of temporary childcare, there should be some movement where we can start getting a permanent childcare voucher, if that hasn't already started.
That's awesome.
Excellent.
Oh,
Ta-
Tasha,
Tasha,
oh,
what's Tiffany's last name?
King,
King.
and it's Tiffani,
Yeah.
not Y.
Okay.
Okay,
Oh,
Tanya. Oh, go ahead.
Tasha, this is Chesley. Is this the same? Is it the same referral like that goes to DSS, like the child care subsidy application, or is different?
No, it's different. It's temporary. So we work with Kate Goodwin with Kate's Corner, Kids Camp. They provide temporary. So sometimes it's a full day, 8 hours. Sometimes it's only 4 hours because a parent is going for a job interview, or they're completing some type of certification. Whatever it is, we're just trying to meet their employment needs. At the same time, Tiffany is working with the household and the case manager to make sure those permanent child care referrals are being submitted, because there is currently no wait period for families who are literally homeless to get a permanent child care voucher. But we know that there is still a need, in the moment need, for child care, and that's what we provide.
Okay, so can we still refer clients to your program even if they've already submitted a application to DSS for the child care subsidy?
Absolutely, especially if it's going to affect them going on a job interview. Absolutely.
Okay, all right. Thank you. What about, one more question? What about if they have a job but they put in the application for childcare through DSS, but they need temporary childcare to start back going to work?
Yes, we
Okay,
can.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Tanya.
Excellent.
Hello, everyone. So Families Moving Forward Rapid Rehousing Program, priority is assisting families and individuals who are fleeing or attempting to flee domestic violence first. Families and individuals who are survivors of domestic violence, and individuals and families who are survivors of sexual abuse. We work with veterans, and we work with families who are non-chronically homeless households. Our service provides housing, relocation, and stabilization services. We assist with rental application fees, moving costs, temporary storage fees, security deposit for up to 2 months, last month's rent, utility deposits, utility payments, mental health services, rental arrears up to 6 months, utilities arrears up to 6 months. Also with credit repair, and if families need legal services related to obtaining permanent housing. Our goal is to get our families housed, and again, within 6 to 8 months, have them stable on their own so they can be able to afford the rent. Are there any questions?
I'm gonna stimulate a question. What we were discussing earlier, with the 6 months. Let's give a little background into that, because I think this is gonna be important that that everyone is aware of that. So if you can go over that just a little bit. And then my second question is, you indicated that you do families. Is there a limitation to the family composition? Like say, mother with children, father with children, two people with children, same-sex couples with children. What are your limitations, or are there any?
There are none, because
Excellent.
the family makeup can be what a family makeup is.
Thank you. I want to make sure that was in the air. Thank you so much. Okay, and then the question, if you would go over what we discussed with the 6 months, the information I gave you.
Okay, 6 months arrears for the utility deposits are tricky. I'll give an example and maybe everyone can understand this way. A family comes to me and they have a outstanding utility bill. They have been homeless for roughly a year, and their utility bill is dated for, the final bill is dated for May of 2023. So the question is, how do we determine the 6 months? And with my conversation with Jeffrey, it was very vital that we had this conversation, because we are now seeing families with a huge outstanding Duke Energy bill when it's time to obtain permanent housing. And that bill can and will hinder families when it's time to get approved for permanent housing. So the 6 months, the family is going to have to get a bill for that 12 months of services. We need to see each month bill to see if that amount comes to within the 6 months. Am I correct, Jeffrey? That was our conversation on it.
Right. You need,
And
if it's, we can only pay 6 months, so it needs to show
no,
the 6 months so that we know we're covering the 6 months. We can't do 12, we can't do 13, we can do 6.
and if it's more than that, if it's more than the 6 months, then they would have to get a promissory note from other agencies willing to help assist with that amount. But we can only do the 6 month times.
You can only do 6 months with the ESG or, well, CoC money
Yes.
doesn't allow arrears, if I remember correctly, but we can go back and double check that. ESG definitely allows arrears. Keep in mind, if you use 6 months of financial assistance to pay utility arrears, you now have 18 months only for rent or utilities on the go forward.
Right.
Because you're capped at 24 months total. So if you use 6 months of that to pay somebody's debts, they've got to be able to be self-sufficient in 18 months or less. And keep in mind, if you put 1 penny in for a month, it's considered a month of assistance. It's not like, oh, it wasn't a full utility payment I made. It was only a penny. HUD doesn't see it that way. It's, you gave them financial assistance for that month. That counts as a month of assistance.
Correct.
So just be wise. It's always best to use as little of your government money for the arrears as you possibly can. Use private donations, use other groups, figure out a payment plan where the family might be able to pay, some of it back. Because it really, really puts a big dent on things when families get out to 18 months and they're like, oh, I got another 6 months. No, you don't. You end tomorrow. But you got to be very clear with that from day one, that this has some financial implications on the back end of this.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin.
And if you're doing, again, if it's greater than what you have, there are other avenues to get assistance with rent, with utilities. There's a SIP program, Crisis Intervention Program. There's the LIHEAP program. So if they're able to put those funds together, use those other funds first. There are some requirements that that DHHS is going to have for that as well. You're going to have a lease. You have to be able to show that you can be moving to the place. But there are other funds available, and they can piece it together from other places. That is their preference. If churches will assist when there's a promissory note from an established church that we deal with, then of course they can have those things and have those in place as opposed to using or in conjunction with what we're doing. But it has to be able to move the client in. We can't just pay it if it's not going to guarantee that the client can move into the place. So we can't just pay arrears, and while they're looking, we need to be able to attach that to something that this, by paying this, they will be able to move in.
Do we have like a list of other agencies or churches that do provide that kind of assistance, like anywhere?
I'm going to defer to Lavette and Nicole on that. Is there a list at DHHS for utility assistance?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Is there a list at DHHS of outside entities that'll help with utilities?
Yeah, I don't know there's an official list, but I definitely have a resource with some other agencies to help with that.
Excellent. Would you be able to share that with us soon?
Yes, what email would I need to send that to?
You can send it to me.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
and
I'll send it to you.
And is that something we could post on the dashboard maybe? So it's just easily accessible to.
Yep. Once it comes to me, we'll get together and we'll put it there.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. Okay, any additional questions for families moving forward for the rapid rehousing program or any other programs they mentioned? Okay, thank you. Sally, Project Access.
Hi, we run two programs, a homeless medical respite program for homeless people coming out of being discharged from the hospital with a medical case management need, or for COVID positive homeless people. And then we run a rapid rehousing program, which is for single homeless adults who have a medical need and a recent inpatient stay. Yeah, that, and I think it's funded by ESG funds probably, so it follows whatever those guidelines are.
Your rapid housing program, do you have a prioritization group? And if you already said it, I apologize, I didn't hear it.
Oh, sorry, yes, single adults who with a recent inpatient stay and a medical case management need, that would be the priority.
Okay. Excellent, thank you. Any questions?
Yes.
Okay.
So, if a client comes to UMD and they are not medically fit to stay there, can we refer them over to Project Access? And can we do that? Or no?
I mean, you could message me. So I think that what happens a lot is that somebody who's not appropriate for the shelter might not be appropriate for our program either, because they might need a higher level of care. But it is possible that there's some people who might need our services that would do okay in our program. We're not really funded by the city. So we're really pretty small and focused on people coming out of the hospital. But if you wanted to message me if you had a client in question, Julia will often consult on those cases. You never know.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
I guess that was my question, Sally. How do you all typically receive referrals from who can make referrals?
We typically get them. They're coming from hospital discharge planners.
Oh, okay.
So there's no way to get a community referral. There's no process for agencies in the community to make referrals.
No, there's not. Yeah, I mean, you know, I think there's a couple of issues there. One is a funding issue, and one is just a permissions issue, getting the client's consent for us to talk to them. But, you know, I think the bigger issue, we could work on the second, I think, but we're sort of have very, very, very
Could
limited funding.
could you all receive a referral from their like, let's say if they go to Duke Outpatient Clinic and they was recently, I mean, would
Yeah.
another clinic be able to make a referral, an outpatient
Yeah,
clinic?
yep. An
Okay.
outpatient clinic could. So we do get referrals from Duke Outpatient Clinic or from the
Okay.
Center.
Excellent. Excellent. So if
One
a
other
client came to
question.
UMD and they were, like I said, with a wheelchair, and it was an issue of mobility and able to getting around, and they were being seen, they were at UMD, if they were being seen, let's say by Sharita, they could do a referral to your program, Sally?
Well, I mean, it kind of depends. I mean, there's a lot of people with mobility issues that are sort of do just fine at Urban Ministries. But yeah, but Sharita would certainly be able to make a referral to us. And, you know, we have limited, I mean, we're really placing people in sober houses because that's what's available and what we can afford.
Okay.
So there's that stipulation as well. And so sometimes, I mean, you know, we'll kind of work with somebody who may be at the shelter, I think we've got somebody there now where we're trying to meet their, help them get the healthcare they need, but working with the shelter staff. And that seems to be working fine, so far as I know.
Yeah.
That's excellent information. Beverly, you had a question as well?
I just wanted to know what the length of stay would be if a client is accepted Project Access.
For medical respite or for rapid rehousing?
Either or no.
Let's see. I mean, medical respite, our average length of the stay is about 30 days, but it can go up to 3 or 4 months. And then for rapid rehousing, I mean, you know, we sort of follow the guidelines of the other programs for up to 2 years, but, you know, try to transition to another source as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you so much.
Hey,
Excellent.
Sally, my question kind of piggybacks off of what somebody else asked. But so us case managers from shelters cannot refer a client to Project Access, like for rapid rehousing.
Well, yeah, so for rapid rehousing, I mean, the process would be if they're on the by name list, and, you know, we have openings and somebody would be prioritized. We have openings now for rapid rehousing, just waiting to get a referral. So yeah,
Okay,
so
I got you.
yes. So absolutely.
Okay, I got you. So what would be the length of stay? Because I know you said the rapid rehousing is for people who've had a recent hospital stay, like inpatient stay. Is there like a time frame that they had to be in the hospital?
No, not really. We're just sort of trying to have a targeted focus. But if you have somebody that you think would be appropriate, there's not, a particular time frame.
Okay, and do they have to have income?
Well, so I guess this is a question for community development. I mean,
Right.
we've often taken people into rapid rehousing programs while working on disability cases. I think that community development is trying to discourage that practice, but so I guess I defer to who we're allowed to rapidly rehouse.
Let me knock that down for you. Income is not a requirement to enter rapid rehousing. Anyone can be referred to rapid rehousing, whether they have income or not. Now, the task for case managers is to either obtain income for them or obtain disability. That's the whole point of the case management, is to increase income so that they become independent. Rapid rehousing is a short-term, light touch intervention, or we can use it for bridging if they're going to get, there's a possibility for them to get disability, but it's not a requirement to get into the program. So I want to make sure that that is with every rapid rehousing program that we are discussing. Income is not a requirement to get into rapid rehousing. And again, it is the case manager's job and goal to increase the income of a family so they can become self-sufficient, or to get them into a housing situation or a permanent housing option that is not going to require it. If there's no chance for a family, if they're just not going to be able to work, and it's very clear they're not going to be able to work, then the case manager will be working to get them into a housing situation where that is understood that they're not going to be able to work, but it's going to need to, you're going to have to, at that point, be working to get secure documentation and to be able to show that and to do an appropriate referral to a resource that is going to allow them to be able to do that. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. That was wonderful.
Mhm.
Any more questions for Sally? Okay. All right. Next is Housing for New Hope.
Okay, so we have quite a few programs, and bear with me, everybody. I'm recovering from illness, but so the first program we have is Rapid Rehousing. We have both CoC funding and ESG funding. None of our requirements are unlike any other rapid rehousing program, and we do not have a target population. And so we take singles and families in both projects. For our next project, we have two types of permanent supportive housing projects. The first is a scattered site, tenant-based permanent supportive housing. That is our Streets to Home project. We have a special set of funding that will allow for 4 families. We're at 3 families enrolled, so we only can have 1 more family on that project. But the rest of that project is dedicated to singles experiencing chronic homelessness. That is, it's really it. There's no other differences from any other PSH project. And then we have the project-based permanent supportive housing, which is our William Square and Andover project. We have 20 units at William Square for the CoC and 20 units at Andover for the CoC. We are also connected to Target Key, the Targeting Key program, with our William Square and Andover properties. So we have 16 Targeting Key units at William Square and 10 at Andover. With that, those are single occupancy units only, so no couples. We only do single individuals in that unit, those units. Again, those are permanent, and I mean, we're going last. That's kind of it for our project. And then we have street outreach. Obviously, you have to be sleeping outside, and those referrals usually come from Entry Point to our street outreach team. Any questions?
Yes. If you would go over your requirements for PSH.
Oh, I'm sorry. So you have to be chronically homeless, you have to have a disability, you have to have 12 months of homelessness, either 4 episodes in a period of 3 years that equal 12 months, or 12 months continuously, and you have to have a disability.
Income required?
Income is not required for PSH.
Okay.
What we do with, what we have been doing lately with the project is, if we have a space in Streets to Home, we've been kind of funneling people with no income there. And then people who have income, we've been funneling them to the William Square and Andover projects, but income is not a requirement.
Thank you.
These are all
all of our PSH projects are funded by CoC.
I have a question about disability, the disability requirement. We've been coming to some issues with some of the folks that we service when it comes to like, I guess my question is, do you require like documented disability? Because we often run into folks who seemingly have some type of cognitive impairment or disability, but may not have medical documentation or may not be in a space to even recognize their own disability, but it's an obvious thing. Is it something that has to be documented, or can it be something just noticed, I guess, by your organization?
No, it has to be documented, and documentation looks like we have a verification of disability form that a medical provider does have to complete, or an SSI or SSDI award letter will serve as documentation of a disability.
Okay, thank you.
Question, you said an SSI letter as well?
SSI letter, SSDI letter, and the verification of disability form can serve as the documentation for disabilities.
Okay, thank you so much. Me and Ms. Beverly was just talking about that this week.
Thank you.
Yes, so they do not have to have like a proof of disability letter along with the SSI letter.
No,
just
it could be
okay.
that just SSI award letter, because that tells you that they have a disability.
Mhm.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Okay, Shante, can you, what is the length of time for your financial assistance for your rapid rehousing programs? Is there a set time or is it the 24?
It's the 24. We try not to go up to 24. I know in the past we have maxed people out, but they were some of them were super difficult to serve. But we are really trying not to max people out. We are trying to go. We start at 6, and then we reassess every 3 months. So we do quarterly assessments. We try to end it at 6 or 9. Hopefully no more than 12.
Okay. Excellent. Any additional questions? Okay.
I do want to add that for our Williams Square and Andover properties, there is no elevator in the building. I want people to know that. These are studio apartments, and when you are referring or people get approved for that unit or referred from the by name list to that unit, please make sure that you let your clients know that these are studio apartments. There are about 5 units on the bottom floors in each building. So, the bottom floor units are very limited. So it's important to keep that in mind. And when we have spaces come available, which we do, I will let, we're getting to a place where I can let people know which ones are bottom units and, top units.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Any additional questions?
I had a question. So the Andover apartments, are those permanent supportive housing? I mean, you may have already said it and I missed it, or rapid rehousing, or what are those?
Andover and Williams Square, that's permanent supportive.
Okay.
Okay, and Streets to Home is as well, correct?
Streets to Home is permanent supportive, but that is a scattered site. So, we operate that like you would rapid rehousing because we have to go find a unit. But that is long term.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Any additional questions? Okay. Nicole Wilson, can you discuss the HUD-VASH program?
Yes, I can. So We are the Durham VA healthcare system. We are a service within the healthcare system, the VA homeless program. We have a collaboration between HUD and the VA, which makes the acronym HUD-VASH. The VASH is VA Supportive Housing. What that looks like is veterans who meet the permanent supportive housing criteria, which is a little bit looser for the VA than HUD regulations, are able to get a Section 8 voucher. This is coupled with a licensed clinical social worker. We have an interdisciplinary team that includes the veterans can have access to a nurse practitioner, a nurse, occupational therapist. We have an employment specialist. They will have their licensed clinical social worker. We have a housing specialist. It's very comprehensive. Veterans have to meet the local housing authority income. We are looking to serve those with the most severe needs. If we're looking at VI-SPDAT or your prioritization tool, we're going to be looking for the highest scores. Our vouchers do service all 27 of our counties that we provide care to. And so if veterans are referred, they would kind of go into that pool and be prioritized that way. However, if there are veterans that are coming from Durham that need HUD-VASH, one of my priorities, if you will, for lack of better word, is to make sure that they get that voucher expeditiously. The veterans are able to keep the voucher for as long as they need the program. We have a number of veterans who have graduated the program, which means that they no longer need that case management, and that's the goal, but they keep their voucher. We talk about those referrals at the Mayor's Challenge meeting, the Veterans Work Group Case Conference and meeting. I will, Jeffrey, send you a form that I created a while back. If you encounter a veteran and you would like to refer them to the VA to have a screening, we do have a clinical screening as well as using the VI-SPDAT currently to make sure they meet the clinical criteria for the program. We also are required to make sure that they have veteran verification and their military discharge meets the criteria. That has been expanded in the past few years where we were very, very limited to only serving people who could have health care. We are able to serve people who don't meet the criteria to have health care benefits, but we still have to verify those folks. Am I missing anything? Any questions?
Hey, Nicole. Nicole, it's Nicole from Entry Point. I was just asking about, how does it work with the PSH for Maple Court housing now with the VA or with the HUD-VASH?
So our relationship with Maple Court is if there are veterans who would like to reside at Maple Court, they are able to use their HUD-VASH voucher and live there. So we have pretty much filled up Maple Court with all veterans living there.
That is great.
Using their HUD-VASH voucher. So it's a little veteran community now for HUD-VASH participants.
That is great.
Very exciting. If anybody else wants to develop apartments, we will fill them up for you. No problem. All righty.
Just one question, the process, if we have a vet here in shelter, what is the first thing that we would do? Have them make sure they're connected with VA, and then would they take it from there? The VA case management manager would take it from there, or what's the process for referring?
Yes. So veterans can self-refer, but outside of that, every veteran that's on the that is entered into your shelter is discussed at those veteran case conference and meetings. And there's a social worker, Bob Williamson, who should be coming to your shelter on a regular basis. He is also doing screenings for HUD-VASH, so he should be catching those folks. On top of that, I'm at the case conference and meetings and looking to see, do we have a VI SPDAT? Are they chronically homeless? If anybody from UMD is able to come to the meeting and say, yes, we're working with this veteran, they need a voucher, that's also acceptable. However you want to communicate that you feel that they need that, and then we will look into that and screen them. And if they're able to be referred to HUD-VASH, we're going to refer them. But we also, some people get referred with the understanding or the perception that that voucher is going to come quickly. And most of the time that is not the case. Like I said, the most severe get that voucher. So we don't want to refer folks and then they're waiting. 9 times out of 10, that referral to VOA is going to be your best bet for people who have lower service needs about getting them out of the shelter quickly.
And I just want to say, Bob Williams, I'm familiar with him. A couple of years back, he made his appearance like once a week, at least. I haven't seen him in like, I don't know, since COVID came and changed some things. And so we don't have anyone coming in as much as he used to come in. I didn't see anyone that's representing the VA at all, representative from there at all coming in.
Okay, thank you for sharing that feedback. I'll make sure that that changes.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, of course.
Do you guys have a way to expedite getting copies of people's DD-214s? Because I know there's quite a backup in general.
So I wish that we did. The thing that they let us know is like when we send so we use the general website that everybody can use and we put homeless veteran on it and please expedite. So, you know, you're free to use that tip if you have to deal with that. We are able to verify veteran status by a system called Squares. So all I would need is the social and name. But if someone actually really, really needs their DD-214, Jonathan Crooms is an absolute rock star at the Veteran Service Office in Durham, and he will definitely make sure if they're having any trouble, he helps them get that ordered.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hey, Nicole, this is Chesley. So if we have a client who we meet with and they say they aren't connected to the VA at all, then what would be our next step?
Next steps is I will send out some stuff just to share. Maybe we can put it on the dashboard, but for walk-in hours. Also, if you want to email me, we should have a social worker who's coming out to the shelter, and I will work on establishing that schedule with you guys. I think I have your email. If not, I know Jeffrey has it. So I'll work on that, making sure that that is occurring. So hopefully they won't have to come to us. We'll be coming to them. But if that's not the case, everyone on that list is being connected with a social worker if they haven't already. And then, yeah, they can self-refer. Hopefully we're coming out there. So various ways of entry. But if you want to email me, I can, that also works. And we'll get things going from there.
Okay. Yeah, because I've seen Mr. Williamson like once, but it's been like some months and months back. So yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And just to let, when we refer to UMD, when they come through entry point, I do put it on the we do put it on the non-confidential notes that if we send an SSPF referral, GPD referral, the VA referral, so you guys, UMD should be able to see that they are connected to the VA when they do call in from us to refer to the shelter.
Thank you. And Nicole, DD 214 form, is that verification of veteran status or something? What is that?
Yes, so that's the form that military members receive when they discharge. It will say a lot of information about their service experience, but for us, what we look for is their discharge status. There are some discharge statuses that make them ineligible for services. The big glaring one is a dishonorable discharge. If you see that, then unfortunately, those individuals are not able to receive any VA or veteran specific resource from us.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
With less than honorable, Nicole, they would still be able to access.
Mm-hmm. If we have under other than honorable, under other than honorable, general, all of those, they would still be able to get SSVF or HUD-VASH if they qualify. The healthcare is questionable. There's more requirements for healthcare, so that will limit what we're able to do with those clinical supports I mentioned, because you have to be eligible for healthcare to get that RN, OT, all of those healthcare services. But for HUD-VASH, that subsidy and that case management support, they would be able to get that.
So,
Thank you.
any additional questions? Is there anyone that could speak on SSVF? Okay, we'll work on it later. I do just want to stress something that I want to make sure that we're aware of system-wide, that even when you see an SSVF referral has been entered, there is well, every veteran just about that qualifies gets it, but it would not stop us from continuing services while that navigates. One or the other will be able to house them, but we don't want people to languish while they're waiting for SSVF, because there's a very large caseload on SSVF. So we could still continue with what we're doing. If the SSVF calls, then we'll be made aware, and in the veterans meeting we will know that they've been contacted, and I'll make sure that you're aware as well. But if someone comes through, they're looking for shelter, and you've done SSVF, it doesn't mean that their care stops. We still continue until such time as they are enrolled and looking for housing through that program. And I think that is happening for the most part, but I just want to make sure that that is in the atmosphere, just in case there's any question about it later, or from anyone who may not be aware.
And Jeffrey, SSVF, is it for veterans only?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And then Jeffrey, we also have Deja that's on the line for the GPD case management program.
Okay. Okay, Deja, are you ready?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so my name is Deja Hill. I am the team lead for GPD case management. We help veterans find and sustain housing. We can work with people who are like working with SSVF as long as they're not housed with SSVF. We also can take HUD-VASH vouchers as well through the VA. But if they already have it before trying to enroll in GPD, I can't work with them. That's pretty much it.
Hey, there's people who may not know what GPD stands for. Can you define it?
Grant per diem. We are a grant funded by the VA.
And what will you cover?
When you say what will we cover, what do you mean?
Are you offering, it's case management, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and are there any type of financial assistance that would come with that?
Yes. So we can help with things such as like utility bills. During the housing process, we can help with the application fee, things like that. But there is only a certain amount that we can spend each veteran is only entitled to $500. Once that $500 is used on anything that they have requested assistance with, then we can't assist anymore. Let's see what else. We also help with employment as well. Yeah, I think that's covers the bases.
Would it cover move-in cost?
As long as it's not over $500.
Okay. So they need an application fee and move-in costs helping to move their things. As long as it doesn't exceed 500, they're okay.
Yes.
Any questions? Okay, are there any programs that we missed or anything that we need to add so that we're all on the same page? Excellent. This has been recorded, so if you have staff coming on, or staff that couldn't. Yes,
Sorry, Jeffrey, did we talk about streets to home?
yes, we did.
We
Yeah,
did?
it was discussed under PSH.
Oh, yeah. Okay, got you. We did.
Yes.
Sorry.
That is, it is PSH and it's for the scattered site. So when she discussed William Square and Andover, she also talked about that as well. And again, the recording will be available. I'll get with our team and we'll post it on the website, on the I'm sorry, on the smart sheet, on the dashboard. That way, anyone who wants to go back and peruse it can do so. And if there's staff that did not get it, they'll be able to look at it as well. Okay, Housing for the Hope, did you have openings currently in PSH?
Yes, we have openings in William Square and Andover.
Excellent.
You ready for the number?
Yes, Melissa, if you could stop the recording, or can I stop it from here? I think I can. Okay.
No problem. Give me 1 second.